My name is Hal Pschunder, and I live in Hainesport. The historical societies that I'm involved in are those of Mount Holly, Mount Laurel, Southampton, and Riverside. And I do have other events there that from other historical societies that I do attend, most of them here in Burlington County. Originally, I was interested in the ownership here of the land where we are here now in Hainesport, and that involved going to the county archives and finding out who lived here, and of course then you find out different personalities. That's how I became also interested in Barclay Haynes, who was the founder of Hainesport back in the late 1840s. The one that I've done the most work with has been the Riverside Historical Society, although it's the furthest away. Barclay Haynes had one of the stops on his steamboat activities was in the town of Progress in the 1850s. Progress is today called Riverside. So that way I became involved with the Riverside Historical Society. I've helped them taking photographs of the inside of their the watch case factory before they had to move out, to try to create or to try to preserve as much of their beautiful museum that they had inside there, which has now been moved to another location in Riverside. I also, in talking with the people there, we discovered that Riverside was originally founded by mostly Germans who had escaped from the revolution in Germany in 1848. In 1860, they founded a Turnverein, which is a gymnastics society. It's still there, the Turners in Riverside. That society had minutes that were taken in German from about 1860 until about 1875. These minutes were nobody could decipher them there. But it turns out that my father, who was born in Europe and had done or had learned the particular type of script called a Kurrent script in German that was being used on these minutes from the 1860s. He had still learned about this in the 1930s in Austria. So I sort of volunteered him, and we got copies of the minutes that had been made by the Historical Society of Pennsylvania. Those minutes were then, we looked at them and went through them. There were about 80 or 90 pages worth of minutes that they had taken basically every month on a monthly basis, and we transcribed those minutes. So my dad read it out there, and I wrote it down in German, and then after we had the whole thing transcribed, we sent it over to Mark Hall in Bavaria in Germany, and he was the one who actually did the translations there, because he understood some of the terms inside were terms about gymnastics that were a little bit difficult to understand, even because gymnastics has changed in the last 140 or 150 years since those minutes were written. So those were the two main things that we did. We gave a presentation, I guess, in 2015 to the Riverside Historical Society about the translation of those minutes. So other historical societies that I've worked for, I mean, we've done some cleanup in the telephone museum in Southampton, or in the Southampton Historical Society, and have helped them out in that way. and also in Mount Laurel, they're helping with arranging the library that they have in the Farmers Hall, and the Mount Holly Historical Society. They have also a museum there, and so I've done a little bit of work with that. But mostly I've given a number of presentations to many of those people. Two are the presentations that have interested me a lot there. Usually in April I've given a presentation on the Lincoln assassination. That's something that's fascinated me ever since I read about it in high school. And trying to figure out what happened to the people who were responsible for that. John Wilkes Booth, and he had a number of accomplices there who helped him, so it's an interesting story there of what happened back in 1865 when Lincoln was assassinated, and how the people who were responsible for it tried to escape, and ultimately a lot of them were caught. Some of them were not caught and managed to get away. So those are the main activities that I've been interested in. I've also been very interested in archaeology. One of the interesting things here in Burlington County that what I was able to do archaeologically was to help excavate the Dr. James Still site in Medford on Church Road back in 2017. That was headed by Dr. Mark Larenk from the University of Massachusetts at Amherst, and he guided us through, showed us how to excavate a site and photograph it and document exactly what was found and where it was found and in which different layer. In sifting through it, we found, mostly broken ceramics. Of course, when one goes to a museum, you see all these beautiful pieces put together, and vases and from ancient Greek or even ancient Egyptian societies, but. There's a lot of archaeological work there because most of those times those things are all broken up into pieces, and they have to be carefully, put back together. It's a three-dimensional jigsaw puzzle. We found a number of artifacts there at the Dr. Still site that indicated what he had there. He had a water cistern that we dug out there, and there were, again, it was a large group of people there, so I certainly don't want to take credit for all of it. And Dr. Larenk was supervising us, so that was a lot of fun. Just like when I attend talks, and some of the talks that you've given, Marissa, there have been very interesting. I try to make sure I thank the people for their effort, because I know how much work it is to put together a good presentation. The Riverside Historical Society and the Turners did give my father and me small plaques there for the work that we had done in transcribing the Turner minutes. But one doesn't do historical work there or for awards there. You really do it because it's an interesting thing to do, and if you document it correctly, then maybe it will survive, and other people will then be able to build on it later. It makes me wonder there if I'm really worthy of it. It's just I've been lucky there that I've been to a number of different places there, and I do speak German and was able to do help my father with the transcriptions. So and I do enjoy photography, so taking pictures for the Riverside Historical Society and of a lot of the other events there. has been fun for me. So it's the receiving an award is really something extra there. It was not really expected, but I am grateful and I thank you. The work that I've done here in Hainesport there, I've put out a 2 or 3 page memo there about Barclay Haynes, of all the sort of a summary of the research that I've done on him, and to some extent his descendants too. So I hope that will be a part of Hainesport's history there. It's a small town, only 6 square miles, but we do have a history that goes back into the middle of the 19th century, and has gone on from there. One of the things that I've enjoyed there was being able to accompany one of the former mayors of Hainesport there, and he had lived here since, I guess, the 1930s, and he gave me a quick tour. It was, well, 3 or 4 hour tour. We drove around Hainesport, and he would point out and say, well, this particular house was, this is where so and so lived, or this is where this particular event happened there. So that was, to be able to learn new things there is something that has always been very gratifying to me. So, and I hope to provide some, in the presentations that I've made and in the conversations that I've had with people there, I hope that I've been able to impart to other people my love of history and of archaeology, and some of the significant things that I've been able to either receive from others and hopefully pass on, or even maybe some of them to discover myself, and then pass them on to other people. We rely on history. If we know about people like Alexander the Great or Caesar there only through what people have written down and have preserved. The documentation of history there, on a larger scale, as the philosopher Santayana once said there, those who cannot remember the past are condemned to repeat it. So, not that any great things here in this portion of Hainesport or this part of Burlington County there are going to be things that have to be avoided there in the future. But it certainly helps to understand history and to understand the present, because the present is a product of everything that has gone on before. This portion of New Jersey was originally settled by the Lenape Indians there. The Quakers came in the late 1600s. They tried to be as peaceful and as cooperative with the Native Americans who were living here, and so to me, learning the parts of history where things have gone well, where people have interacted well, and transmitting that knowledge to others is important to me, because I think that they said that history does not repeat itself, but it certainly resembles or things happen, and they resemble things that have happened, other things that have happened in the past. If one understands the past, going forward, you can adapt and learn from it.